A very good morning, His Excellency Mr. Tung, Deputy Minister of Science and Technology, Mr. Lim Boon Heng, Chairman Temasek, Mr. Wong, Chairman PBN, Mr. Hung, Deputy Chairman Commission for the Management of State, Capital and Enterprises, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and last and may I not forget, Ms. Mary Pham Tu Hang, CEO of Vietstar and VSBF Director. I'm very honored to be here today for the 2023 edition of the Vietnam-Singapore Board Forum. This event is emblematic of the organic vitality which is increasingly shaping Vietnam-Singapore relationship. May I extend my appreciation especially to Ms. Mary Pham for her vision and energy in bringing together such a distinguished group to identify how both our countries can collaborate better in driving sustainability and inclusive growth in a digital era. As many of you have heard, 2023 marks a significant milestone in the 50th anniversary, with the 50th anniversary of our diplomatic relationship and the 10th of our strategic partnership, or 5010 for short. The half-century since we established our relationship have seen momentous changes, not just in Singapore and Vietnam, but in our region and the world. The next 50 years will likely, for better or worse, prove just as momentous. We are entering back into an increasingly troubled and dangerous world. Not dissimilar to the world of 1973 when we first established our diplomatic relations. The major powers are focused on advancing their own interests rather than promoting mutual interdependence and strengthening the open rules-based multilateral system on which Singapore and Vietnam depend on our peace and prosperity. As open economies reliant on open markets for trade and investment, these developments will impact us greatly. For Singapore and Vietnam, the imperative to work together has never been stronger. We share a common outlook and interest in many multilateral and regional issues, value working together to maintain peace and stability. We are both committed to upholding ASEAN centrality, cooperate closely to promote open and rules-based order, and deepen regional economic integration through our roles in platforms such as the CPTPP. Our circumstances and contexts are clearly different. Vietnam is a country of 100 million. Singapore is a city-state of 5 million. That said, we are complementary in so many ways, which allow us to work with each other as we both have benefited and stand to benefit much more from deepening our cooperation. Our bilateral relationship has been firmly grounded by the 3 M's of mutual respect, mutual support, and mutual trust. We should not and do not take this for granted, as this is the product of a generation of hard work on both sides. The start was the first high-level visit 3 decades ago by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew to Vietnam in 1992, and then General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, Do Moi, to Singapore in 1993. This year, to mark 5010, we will be exchanging visits by our Prime Ministers. PM Ching visited Singapore in February 2022 and 2023, and PM Lee Hsien Loong is scheduled to make his visit to Singapore later this year. But the communication between our leaders are not limited to just visits. Our presidents just met in London on the sidelines of the coronation celebration in the United Kingdom, while our Prime Ministers touched base earlier this week on the sidelines of the ASEAN Summit in Indonesia. These high-level engagements set the tone and agenda for our ministers and senior officials to follow through. Economic cooperation has been the cornerstone of our bilateral relationship. Singapore has long recognized Vietnam's economic strength and potential. We have been Vietnam's top source of foreign direct investment for the past 3 years. The Vietnam-Singapore Industrial Park, VSIPs, across northern, central, and southern Vietnam are emblematic symbols of our economic cooperation. Collectively, the VSIPs have attracted US $17 billion in investments and account for over 300,000 jobs in Vietnam. What is more impactful is the fact that the VSIPs, previously clustered around Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, are now spread across Vietnam, helping spread growth and development more evenly across Vietnam. Also of note is that the VSIPs are positioning themselves to better service Vietnam's ambitions to ensure that Vietnam not only attracts more and better quality investment, but also provides for better quality jobs and help Vietnam remain globally competitive. In this regard, the VSIP 3 under construction in Binh Duong, where the first VSIP was launched 26 years ago, will house Lego's $1 billion manufacturing plant, Vietnam's first carbon neutral facility. Positioned along VSIP 3 in Binh Duong will be Vietnam-Singapore Industry Innovation 4.0 Innovation Center, which will better support Vietnam's adoption of I 4.0 technology, especially by training a future-ready workforce and enabling manufacturers' own transformation. The VSIP represents the tip of Singapore business interest in Vietnam, with many other Singapore companies ranging from CapitaLand, Ascot, Keppel, Mapletree, YCH Group, PSA, to Charles & Keith and BreadTalk, who are active in Vietnam's infrastructure, transport, logistics, food and retail sector. Let me cite one other example. YCH, in a joint venture with TNP, has broken ground on a multimodal logistics hub dubbed Vietnam Superport, which will be the largest logistic infrastructure project spearheaded by a Singapore company in Vietnam. Scheduled to go live in 2024, it will be the first of its kind hub with an integrated dry port and advanced supply chain nerve center modeled along Supply Chain City in Singapore. Overall investor interest from Singapore in Vietnam remains strong, as there's a firm conviction in Vietnam's future. It is for this reason that the Singapore Business Federation will be organizing its flagship Singapore Regional Business Forum in Hanoi on the 7th of July, the first time the Singapore Regional Forum will take place outside Singapore, and help bring together senior business leaders, government officials and thought leaders from Singapore, other Southeast Asian partners, China, Japan, Korea, the US, EU and beyond to Vietnam. As we chart the course for the next 50 years of our relationship, there remain many opportunities to work together in new growth areas. These include the digital economy, renewable energy, carbon credits, cybersecurity, and sustainable infrastructure. We have been carefully pulling together a series of bilateral frameworks over the past 2 years to support and deepen our green and digital partnership. First, Singapore and Vietnam signed a MOU on energy cooperation in October 2022, which includes collaboration in renewable energy projects and interconnectors to support cross-border and electricity trading between countries. This will help strengthen energy security in Southeast Asia and help bring both our countries achieve our shared goal of net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Second, digitalization is changing the way we trade. COVID-19 has highlighted the crucial role that digital trade and e-commerce plays in ensuring supply chain resilience and business continuity. McKinsey estimates that cross-border e-commerce trade will grow from US $300 billion in 2020 to US $1 trillion by 2030. These represent new opportunities in the trade and logistics sector, which Singapore and Vietnam are well positioned and eager to take advantage of. But our partnership goes well beyond the dollars and cents of trade and investments. The most important pillar remains our people-to-people relationship. As the region emerges from the worst of the pandemic, it is definitely encouraging to see Singaporeans and Vietnamese resume our tourism, education and cultural exchanges. Vietnam has always been a popular destination for Singapore students for exchange programs and study visits. Similarly, Singapore has always welcomed Vietnamese students to our country and educational institutions where they have contributed so much energy, passion and talent to our communities. Vietnam has also been the top partner of the Singapore Cooperation Program. More than 20,000 Vietnamese officials have attended SCP programs since 1992. Singapore will continue to share our experiences with Vietnamese officials to support your developmental needs. The VSBF has been playing an important role in supporting and building these webs of friendship and relationships that increasingly underpin our relationship. I look forward to the discussions today to learn where we can forge new linkages and take advantage of opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jaya Ratnam.